Guys, joining us right now on the show, we've got Calvin Watkins with us. Calvin Watkins covers the Dallas Cowboys for Dallas Morning News and Sports Day Cowboys. He's also the author of On the Clock, Behind the Scenes with the Dallas Cowboys at the NFL Draft. Calvin, thank you so much for joining us today, my man.
I'm good. Thanks for having me. You guys all right?
Yes, sir. Good to see you again, my friend.
No, it's been a couple of, what's it been, like 2 days since I last saw you guys?
It feels like it, man. It's honestly, the season's flying by.
Season 5, bro.
Like, what the hell? It's week 8. When did that happen? I feel like I just blinked. But Calvin, we were talking. It was great talking with you before the season started, getting some of that inside scoop on some of these players. You already helped us out and the people listening getting to know some of this. And we've got questions about these Cowboys. We're excited to talk about them. They're a fun team to watch. Cooper Rush coming in, leading them to a pretty decent start without Dak. But now Dak's back. And our first question that came in the chat right before you came on, Hal wanted to know, please tell me Gallup will produce wide receiver 2 numbers rest of season. I think a lot of people were disappointed last week. He put up that goose egg, wasn't very involved, but we know how talented he is. He's an unbelievably talented wide receiver. Is he going to be more involved going forward?
Yeah, you hope so. I mean, it was like only the third time in his career he didn't have a catch, and he had a drop in the game last week to the Lions. But they want to use Michael Gallup. The problem is the Cowboys have turned into this run-first operation, even under Dak Prescott. So, but I definitely expect Gallup and even your boy CD Lamb to kind of maybe pick it up as the season progresses, because there's going to be times where, the opposing teams are going to stop the run, and then Dak Prescott's got to do his job, and that's get the ball down the field in the passing game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know. I got to. I'm a big tight end guy, so I while we're talking pass catchers, Dalton Schultz. I watched a good amount of the game last week. Schultz already had the PCL. Talk about the worst possible kind of tackle for a guy to get. The way he got tackled, rolled up on with the knee. Do you have any insight? I know it's still only Wednesday, but do you have any insight as to that knee and how he's feeling? Is he going to be a full go here, or did he tweak it enough that we have to be worried for as far as fantasy gamers go?
Well, I saw him after the game, and he's taking off his stuff, and I said, "Are you okay?" He goes, he's looked at me, and then I said, and you got to know Dalton Schultz. He's a guy. He's going to cuss like a sailor, Then I said, on that tackle, his leg really got jacked up, and I thought, oh man, he's really bad. He's really done. But he was able to come back, and he said he was fine. But everyone says they're fine after they get nicked up a little bit. We'll find out today whether or not he practices. I would think he'd be a limited participant this week. I would think he is going to play against the Bears. His numbers are going to be down this year just because you got to fight through that knee issue. And the Cowboys got 2 other young tight ends, and Peyton Hendershot and Jake Ferguson. Ferguson's kid they drafted, and Hendershot's from the University of Indiana University. So I don't know if Schultz is going to get the numbers he had last year just because they got these 2 other young kids on the come, and Dak Prescott and the Cowboys offense is more about a run first until further notice. But I think Schultz will probably play this week, but we'll find out a little bit more when they have practice on Wednesday afternoon.
Well, let me throw a follow-up at you, if you don't mind. Let's say Schultz can't go. Add a Hendershot or Ferguson. Who are you leaning towards? For, let's say, fantasy gamers want to throw a dart throw in DraftKings or something. Which one of these guys do you think has a little bit better pass-catching chops? Or, just who you think might be involved a little more if Schultz is out?
I think Ferguson has got a little bit more yards after catch.
Okay.
And he's going to get the first opportunity over Hendershot. That game against Detroit, they had 4 tight ends active, which is crazy. Wow. But of those 2 young kids, I would say Jake Ferguson might be a guy who would have better numbers than Hendershot. Even though Hendershot did catch a touchdown in that game, it was kind of funny because he was the second read, and Dak said, hell with it. I'll throw it to him because he's wide open. Because his Hendershot's going like this in the end zone, So if a guy's doing that, you got to get him the football. But if you look at the numbers this season and the targets, I think they'll even themselves out to say that Jake Ferguson will be your guy more so than Hendershot. And maybe even Schultz, unless, once you injure that knee, it's almost like when Zeke got hurt last year, that knee is never right until the season's over because you got to rest it. So the best thing, for the Cowboys is they got a bye week next week. And now that I think about it, maybe you give Schultz this week and next week off. That's but like I said, we'll see what happens on practice later today.
You just made my life so much easier, man. So many people depend on me for their tight end stuff in fantasy football. So now when I throw that out there, if Hendershot goes off, I say, what do you want me to tell you? Calvin Watkins told me that.
Calvin, I know a lot of people are concerned with Dak Prescott after this. We've been getting a lot of questions about Dak Prescott after his comeback game this week, only throwing 25 times. Kind of a little bit of a disappointing return for Dak for a lot of people. What did you see in this past game from Dak, and are you concerned at all, or is this just him coming back? It's just one game.
I think it's just one game. It's him coming back. It was a little bit rust. He missed 5 weeks, and
yeah.
In that first half, I was like, "What are you doing, bro?" You did double coverage one time. I think 2 times doing a double coverage, but in the second half, he was like 10-13. So that gave me some hope that he's coming out of it and he's going to find a rhythm. We'll see what he does this week. But the Bears, as you guys know, have a very good defense. So it's going to be a minute before we can kind of see those. Oh, he's 25 of 38 for 310, and 2 touchdowns. It's going to be a minute, especially if the Cowboys are going to stick with running the ball.
Right. Yeah, this job is a little different than most of our jobs. It's like when I'm sick, I hop right back on the keyboard. Articles are coming out exactly, pretty much on the level they were coming out before. But yeah, playing professional football is
a little less happy about it.
I hop on this hot mic and I'm just like, maybe get the frog out of my throat, and then I'm at 100%. It's not quite like that for a quarterback, right?
I use an extra tissue or two before I start talking. That's the extent of my injury. That's what's going on right there. Calvin, sorry, go ahead, JL.
I'd say building off that, like the Michael Gallup, I think was another surprise for a lot of people. I think a lot of people were excited with him coming into this game, him coming off an injury with Dak, that symbiotic return or the coordinated return with Dak. Is it the same? Are you thinking the same way that you are about Dak, that Michael Gallup's just, they didn't pass a lot of this game. Dak's rusty, and that's going to affect Gallup. Is he the clear number 2 wide receiver on this team, in your opinion?
Yeah, he is. He's a clear number 2 guy. I mean, he was number 2 guy when they had Amari Cooper on his team. But then when he had CeeDee Lamb, then he kind of became the number 3 guy. Then obviously he got hurt. They brought him along slowly. As you guys know, I thought he would be back maybe the 3rd week of the season, 4th week, and then he came back that 4th game. So it's one of those things, when you're running the ball first, the number of targets are going to be down all around. And then defenses are jamming the Cowboys receivers, and you got to be able to get off the jam to get open. And now you got Dak Prescott coming off that thumb injury. The timing is not where it needs to be, and those kinds of things. And so the offense is kind of disjointed right now. But the only thing you can rely on is Ezekiel Elliott and Tony Pollard. That's the only thing you can rely on. So I don't know about Gallup. I mean, he is clearly the number 2 guy, and I was kind of shocked he didn't have any catches. But when I look back at the game, I was like, well, the first target he got was a bad throw from Dak. Then the second target he got was right on the money, and Gallup dropped the ball. You got to catch football, bro. When you catch football, you're not getting any targets. I'm sorry. It's just what it is.
So that's how it works.
But then what was interesting is he didn't get any other targets the second half. So was that a byproduct of what the Lions did to him? Was it the Cowboys said we got to run the ball? But like I said, Dak was 10-13 the second half. So he was throwing to somebody. Somebody was getting open out there. But Gallup wasn't. So we'll see what he does this week against Chicago. But like I said, it's another good defense. But I would believe that Gallup's numbers will get better because Kellen Moore, the offensive coordinator, was like, that's my fault. I got to scheme him up a little bit better. So I think Gallup will be fine.
I was surprised to see Noah Brown still so involved because in my mind, this is because of the connection between him and Cooper Rush, right? Like him and Cooper Rush had that connection. They played together a lot on the practice squad. Like we see that when these backup quarterbacks come in, that sometimes the guy they're used to throwing to in practice is the guy who benefits. But we still saw 7 targets for Noah Brown this past week, if I'm not mistaken, like pretty heavily involved. Is he going to maintain this role, or is this going to shrink as we go forward? Because it was more of the same, even with Dak back.
The good thing about Noah is that he's been around a long time.
Yeah,
he's in Zeke Elliott and Dak Prescott's class, so he's seen all this. Now he was catching passes from Dak before Dak became the starter. And then, the good thing about Dak is that he will throw to the open guy. And I know that sounds like a cliche, but he's not going to force feed it to CeeDee Lamb and Michael Gallup because those are the ones and the twos. If Noah Brown's open, he's going to get the ball. And this is probably the first time Noah Brown's been like 100% healthy, because his whole career, something's going with his knee, something's going with his hamstring, something's going with his foot. There's always something going on with him. And now he's healthy, and he's finally getting a chance to show the Cowboys what he could do. And you're right. He did develop really good chemistry with Cooper Rush because they were backups. The backups still the backups. And, Noah was a good scout team receiver. But then, when Dak was coming back from the thumb injury and he was throwing to all the receivers, including Noah Brown. So I think he got a little bit of chemistry with him there as well. But I would think Noah Brown's numbers will continue to stay where they are. They've been pretty steady. And he's a guy just gets open. He just finds a way. And that might be because defenses are saying, it's just Noah Brown. I mean, what are we doing here? And Noah Brown's getting open. So it's a little bit of that going on too.
But you're right that, you look and see like the good quarterbacks, they run the plays and they throw to the open guys. Like Tom Brady is always throwing it to everybody. Whereas you look at like Jay Cutler getting locked on Brandon Marshall or Eli.
This is boy. You got to take care of your boy.
Eli Manning that one year, just Odell's rookie year. It was just huck and chuck, eyes shut, So you want to see your guy distribute the ball to everybody, right? Like as a quarterback. Now you did mention Tony Pollard, Zeke Elliott. Obviously you see the chatter on Twitter, Pollard sucks, Zeke sucks, Pollard's awesome, Zeke's awesome across the board. We did see Pollard get some goal line carries this week, which he usually doesn't get. He didn't punch it in, but still interesting to see him get those looks. How do you feel about this RB situation? I know it's a divisive topic in the fantasy football world, but in the real life world, probably a little more simple, right?
Yeah. In the real world per se, this is great for the Cowboys.
Yeah.
They got a power runner in Ezekiel Elliott. They got the off-speed pitch in Tony Pollard. There was that, I don't know, remember, there was this play 1st and 10 at the 1. Dak throws his pass, almost got picked off at the goal line, and it's Tony Pollard, and he gets 18 yards down the field. That's what you use Tony Pollard for. He's got that speed. He can catch, he can move around. But on 3rd and 7, we need pass protection. You got Ezekiel Elliott on the football field, and that's why he's going to get a lot more touches and snaps, really, than Tony Pollard. Now, in the fantasy world, I'm finding somebody else. Dalvin Cook, maybe. I don't know. But it's going to be hard because they're going to split the reps between these two guys. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So it's like one week you will see Tony Pollard lead the team in rushing. Another week you might see Ezekiel Elliott lead the team in rushing. And it's not going to be like 125 yards. The Cowboys combined will get like 135, 125 yards rushing as a team, but you split that between two guys. So in the fantasy world, I don't know what to tell you. It depends on the total.
That's exactly.
You're saying the right thing. And the thing is, I'm on the other side. I'm like, I love irrational coaches. I love bad coaches. Use one player every snap. I don't want Bill Belichick using a bunch of different running backs. I want Riverboat Ron out there, using the same 11 dudes every single play, right? That's what I want to see. I know it's Eli Manning chucking it up to Odell. Like, I don't care if they win. That was great for fantasy. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, right. I feel you, man. It's like, if your quarterback is distributing the ball to everybody and your coach is using both backs because you have two good backs, not good for fantasy, but as a Cowboys fan, you gotta love it.
Oh yeah, it's perfect. Oh yeah, like Kevontae Turpin, right? You see him in special team. He returned a kicked off and a punt return for a touchdown, right, in preseason. Hasn't scored a touchdown yet. Okay, in the regular season, and before the season, Kellen Moore was like, hey, we're going to use Kevontae Turpin, all this kind of stuff. And we're going, yeah, okay. And he used him a little bit, and it's on these end arounds, he might get 4 yards. So if you say I'm going to draft Kevontae Turpin because boom, he might break free, that hasn't happened yet.
Yeah, but still, like, he's still making plays on special teams, like he's helping the team. You know what I mean? It's a good player to us is not a good player to coaches. Like, coaches love a fast dude that can stretch the field and take the safeties deep. Hey, that's a good play. KJ Hamler brings the safeties with him 50 yards downfield. That's a good play. You don't get any fancy points for it, but like sometimes you got to recognize that, like, They don't care about fantasy points. They care about first down.
Right? Absolutely. Calvin, I want to thank you so much for taking the time to come on here with us. It is truly always a pleasure getting that inside scoop on the Cowboys. One of our favorites to talk to. Everyone listening, if you're not following Calvin on Twitter, go and follow him right now at Calvin Watkins and check out his work at sportsdaydfw.com as well. Calvin, you're the man. Thanks so much for joining us today.
Appreciate you, brother.
Thanks for having me, man. Appreciate you guys. We gotta do it another week or so.
Yes, sir.
Absolutely.
Yes, sir.
Let's get Calvin back on here soon.
Anytime,
Keith, make
dude.
it happen.